It worked! 100% scaling. Show me that native AK, baby! Wow!
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I have a very unique playstyle that I'm wanting to show for you. So this build isn't a boss killer, it's not something that's going to be at the top of any DPS charts anytime soon, and it's really not something you're going to be soloing raid bosses with. But with that being said, it's still a very fun build that I've been finding myself using and optimizing over the past few weeks, and it's something that really helps introduce a nice change of pace and a quality of life improvement, especially after, if you're like me, you rock a couple builds for PvE, and that's pretty much it. So if you're looking for a kind of mix-up in the meta, if you're looking for something to rock on strikes, a bit of casual gameplay, nothing too serious, and very little dedication or risk involved, this is the build for you. And honestly, it's a lot of fun once you get it going. So to start it off, what we're actually doing with this build. We're on Titan as usual, and we're going to be rocking Code of the Devastator, which is middle tree hammers. And the main portion of this build functions around the Throwing Hammer perk, which is our melee charge, as well as combining it with the perks Roaring Flames and Tireless Warrior. Tireless Warrior, of course, procs health regeneration on picking up hammers, and Roaring Flames functions as a sort of damage buff for your solar abilities upon getting solar kills. Now onto the armor. On our head, we're going to be rocking Firepower. Now, Firepower is a perk that we've often used on a few builds just because grenades are so strong this season, and Firepower just is another kind of quality of life boost to that, and it's very simple to actually get. So essentially, while charged with light, whenever you use your grenade, it takes one charge of light, and it gives about 20 to 25% of your grenade energy back. You can couple this with a few other things and really get some grenade chains going, especially on Titan class with various builds. We're also going to be using Ashes to assets. I'm personally rocking 2 of them, simply because what you're going to find with this build and in the background gameplay as well, we're really not relying on weapons too heavily. You know, there isn't a DPS option, or we're not using a weapon to exclusively take advantage of any buffs or debuffs or anything. So we're mainly relying on our abilities, and any weapons that we do use are simply there to help us with our own abilities. So I'm just rocking Ashes to assets, but say for example, you have a rocket launcher you want to use. You can definitely rock a finder instead of one of these. Or if you just want to go and rock dual seekers instead, you can totally do that as well. Next up, onto our gauntlets, and the exotic for this video is Ashen Wake. If you're anything like me, this has been sitting in your vault collecting dust for years now. It really is a unique exotic, but it doesn't really have a good place. In PvP, you can definitely get some funny kills with Roaring Flames and one-shot impact nades, but it's really inconsistent and hard to actually get going. And in PvE, well, if you're going to do abilities, there needs to be some justification with it. And with this build, I think I finally found that justification and a reason to rock Ashen Wake over other exotics. So we're primarily going to be taking advantage of the perk Impact Induction, essentially causing damage with your melee attack reduces the cooldown of your grenade. I'm doubling down on this here and actually getting 2 effects of the perk stacked on top. I will make a shout out, you can also use Impulse Recycler, because again, using that grenade works kind of like with Firepower, but except on kills, you get it procced back. I will say though, I would shy away from this just because Ashen Wake intrinsically gives you grenade energy back upon getting those final blows. So especially if you can get a couple adds with it, you're almost guaranteed to get your entire grenade energy back. But if you would want to rock, say, an Impulse Recycler and then another Impact Induction, you totally can to make sure that you get 100% of your energy back. But primarily through Impact Induction and using our hammers as we stack up charges of Roaring Flames, we're going to get our grenade back very quickly, which is why I feel like this is not necessarily a requirement for a build like this. So if you would rather spec out of something like this, that's totally fine. We're also going to be using Elemental Ordnance, essentially getting a kill with our grenade drops a Elemental Well that matches our class, in this case Solar, so if you want to use this in combination with any other Solar Well mods, you totally can. Onto our chest piece, we're going to be having Elemental Charge, effectively picking up an Elemental Well that matches our subclass, gives us 2 stacks of Charge with Light. And again, this is going to help us especially with Firepower, because now we're going to be able to get a lot of our grenade energy back, and as we get those grenade kills and pick up these wells, not only are we getting ability including grenade energy, but we're also going to be getting charges of light, which we can use with other mods and various weapons as well to actually incorporate into our playstyle and the potency of this build. Realistically, again, I'm not using a lot of weapons like heavy weapons or special weapons. Any ones I do use are simply just because they're there. There's really no requirement, so I'm personally rocking 2 sniper rifle damage resist mods. You can definitely feel free to switch this out. I'm just doing it because this build does struggle a bit with range, so this is kind of helping in that department, making me less vulnerable to those sniper shanks or sniper vandals, what have you. So that's what I'm doing, but if you want to do something else, you totally can. Again, primarily just elemental charge for chest piece. For our boots, this is where we're actually going to utilize protective light. Protective light essentially grants you a certain amount of time where you have increased damage resistance when your shields are down. I will note that the more stacks of charge with light that you do have, the longer the perk lasts, not necessarily the effectiveness or percent reduction of the perk. So for example, with this build, we're going to be rocking a total of 4 stacks of charge with light. If I have 4 stacks of charge with light versus 1, and this perk is procced whenever my shields go down, I'm going to have the same damage resistance. It's just the times 4 is going to have a longer duration of that. I should note though that this does decrease your strength, so if you're rocking a build where you're kind of relying upon that, I would just make sure that you include a mod to kind of cancel out the effects. We're also doubling down on Absolution. Essentially picking up an Orb of Power reduces all ability cooldowns, again including our grenade and our melee to an extent. So again, if you want to switch this out, say a scavenger, rocket launchers, and grenade launchers have a 1-cost scavenger perk this season. So if you want to switch those out and rock one of those, you totally can. Again, I'm just not primarily relying upon weapons for damage this season, or specifically with this build. So if you want to switch that out, you totally can. Not a problem. And then finally, on our mark, we have Supercharged. Supercharge is a fantastic perk. Basically, anytime you see someone rocking charge with light builds, this is going to be included, simply because it gives you a total of 4 stacks of charge with light, which is absolutely incredible, especially when you're using certain abilities that either are increased by a total effect, or simply will use one, and therefore you can use it multiple times to get the most effect, without having to worry about running out or constantly refilling on stacks before you can take advantage of it. We're also going to be rocking this with Bomber, which essentially reduces grenade ability cooldown when using your class ability. Again, just something to help us get our grenade back, but as you'll see in the gameplay, this is more of helping us whenever we might miss our nade, or whenever we don't have full grenade energy, kind of just to help us top us off. This isn't a requirement. So, for example, if you're using this build and you're using Code of the Devastator, I don't think it's an incredibly great ability by any means. If you would want to rock something, say, like Explosive Finisher, finishers restore grenades, you can totally do that. That's a completely viable option, and you can absolutely do that to make it work. Again, it's just something I choose, but again, Explosive Finisher is fine. If you want to use a different seasonal mod as well, you can totally do that too. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's the build for today. It's not a boss killing build. It's not something that's going to top the charts in terms of DPS for any category. But as you can see in the background gameplay, it's incredibly fun, and it's a very unique playstyle. Code of the Devastator has been a tree that I've been shying away from for a really long time, because let's face it, the super, not that good. It's nothing really to write home about, and it feels very lacking. But I wanted to give some love to the build itself and kind of experiment with what's out there. And again, my main build is the God of Thunder build, which is also on my channel, or a Warmind Cell build that I've been rocking for however long Warmind Cell's been out now. And this is a nice change of pace. One quick note, there is a lot of room to kind of customize this. So again, if you want to change out a few parts, make this a Warmind Cell build, switch out some Charge with Light mods, maybe go all in on Elemental well mods, you totally can. I encourage you to give this a try. Let me know what you guys think of this build down below, and any comments or recommendations for future videos. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. I'm always posting new build guides and other content for Destiny 2, and I really appreciate the subscribe if you do like what you saw today. But thank you so much, and have a great one.